Hey everybody, welcome to the video. It's going to be my core plays for week 17 of the NFL season over on Draftkings. And if you find this video helpful in any way possible, please leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out and I really do appreciate it. And while you're at it, you might as well hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss out whenever I post new content. And YouTube tells us that around 50% of the people watch these videos have not yet subscribed. So if you're a frequent visitor of the channel or if you just new and like what you see, consider that subscribe button because it really helps the channel grow. And that's obviously going to help me out as well. And if you want to follow me over on social media, the handle's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. And if you want to support the channel over on Patreon, link is down below for that. You get access to all the extra content that I offer, and I cover other sports as well. So I think that's it for the plugs. So without further ado, let's dive into today's video. And leading us off with core play number one, it's no other than Derrick Henry at $9,400. It's a massive price tag, but with the way this slate is, you can kind of play whoever the heck you want. It's not that hard to build a lineup this week. You could even play Devontae Adams in addition to Derrick Henry in the same lineup, and we just have so much value that it can work. But anyway, getting Derrick Henry here, he's going to be the first guy I'm building around on this slate. He just checks every single box for me. I love this game from a fantasy perspective, and do not be surprised if you see more players from this game later on in this video. But we have a 56 point over in this game, which leads the entire slate. Titans have the highest implied team total at 31.75. They're 7.5 point favorites. And a big thing on week 17 is trying to find players from teams that have something to play for. And the Titans, they are fighting for a playoff spot here against the Houston Texans, and it makes it even better that the Texans have one of the worst defenses in football. So I absolutely love Derrick Henry. We're looking at anywhere from around 20 to 30 touches from Henry here in this one. And the last time that they played him all the way back in week 6, he had over 200 rushing yards in that one, about 50 receiving yards, which is not something we can always count on with Derrick Henry. He does not get that involved in the passing game, but if we can get 23 touches versus pretty much the worst run defense in football, Derrick Henry should get us like 30 plus points here. I would not be surprised. Now, it's hard to project players for over 30 points, but I would definitely not be shocked if Derrick Henry leads all players on this slate in fantasy points scored. And looking at the overall matchup, the Texans are 30th DVA versus the run. They're allowing 33.2 DraftKings points to position, which is dead last, close to 140 rushing yards, and over a rushing touchdown per game as well, in addition to 50 receiving yards, which I'm not really expecting Derrick Henry to do too much damage in the passing game, but should be a heavy dose of him on the ground. I'd not be surprised if he gets us close to 200 total yards and probably finds the end zone more than once. So love Derrick Henry. The price tag is massive, but there's plenty of value on this slate to be able to make it work. Alright, moving on to our second core play. It's a guy I've been rising on later on as we go into the week, but it's Justin Jefferson here at $7,600. Now, I said in my first look video that I prefer Adam Thielen over Justin Jefferson just because it's a little bit cheaper, and they have very similar numbers on the season. Adam Thielen's been scoring more touchdowns, but when it's week 17 and a team has nothing to play for, you can start to look for narratives, and Justin Jefferson is a guy that definitely checks that category because he needs 111 receiving yards to break the single season rookie record for receiving yards for a wide receiver. And I don't think he's going to have any problems doing that versus one of the worst defenses in football, the Detroit Lions. They got absolutely eaten alive by Mike Evans last week. I want to say he had close to 50 DraftKings points. He had close to 200 receiving yards. Absolutely ate them up. And Justin Jefferson has been an exceptional wide receiver this season. I know he's a rookie, but I mean, if you go over on PFF, he has some of the highest grades at the position. He's just been phenomenal this season, and I don't see a reason why they would not try to just feed him to get the rookie record here. And the Vikings, even without Dalvin Cook, they still have one of the highest implied team totals in the slate, north of 29 points. This game also features the second highest over-under at 54 points, and the Vikings are 4.5 point favorites here. So with Dalvin Cook being out, I do think that's a boost for the passing game because they're still going to run the ball. This team that likes to run the football, they're going to use Mike Boone, Amir Abdullah, and Alexander Madison, but it might just make them throw the ball a bit more. If the Lions can keep this game competitive, and if Matthew Stafford plays and this game's back and forth, I don't see why we couldn't have a huge game from Justin Jefferson here. On the season, close to 90 receiving yards per game, about 7.5 targets, a 25% target share, close to a 40% market share of the team's air yards. But if you're looking at the specific matchup here versus the Detroit Lions secondary, they are dead last, 32nd DVA versus the pass, and they're allowing the second most points to enter the wide receiver position, over 45 points per game, and over 200 receiving yards as well. So I think both him and Adam Thielen can eat, but I think they're going to make an emphasis to get Justin Jefferson the ball early and often. I can definitely cook the secondary for a lot of points on Sunday. Alright, moving on to our third core play. I said don't be surprised if you see another player from this game pop up later, but it's Deshaun Watson here at $7,700, and I just want pieces from this game. It's just such a good game to target for fantasy purposes, and a lot of these guys aren't overly expensive. I know Derrick Henry's above 9K, but everybody else, it's not that hard to stack this game up, and both teams have excellent plays. You got Ryan Tannehill, Henry, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith. For the Texans, you got Deshaun Watson, Cooks, Cutie. You could even throw Hanson in there if you want. Jordan Akins, David Johnson. There's just no shortage of fantasy options here. Both teams actually played a decent pace where it should be up tempo for the most part. Now, I know the Texans aren't playing for anything here, but they are playing to be spoilers for their divisional opponents, and I'm sure they'd love to knock out the Titans in the playoffs. And Deshaun Watson has just been playing exceptional football, and you would have expected a big drop-off without Will Fuller as wide receiver 1, but there really hasn't been a difference whatsoever in games that Will Fuller has played and games that he has been out, so I'm not overly concerned there. But he is going to be without his left tackle, Aaron Tunsil, which is definitely a downgrade. That offensive line wasn't great anyway, but it is a downgrade losing your left tackle. But I still think Deshaun Watson should have a pretty good game here. I'm expecting a lot of points to be scored. I assume they're going to be trailing for the majority of this game. They are 7.5-point dogs here. And if you are going to play Derrick Henry, it probably makes sense to run it back with Deshaun Watson. I know that sounds kind of weird, but if you're assuming the Titans are going to play with the lead, that's when you're going to want to play Derrick Henry, then you'd assume Deshaun Watson is just playing catch-up, and he's going to be throwing the ball pretty much the entire game, which I think is going to be the case. And he also offers you a rushing floor as well. He's not had less than 24 rushing yards in a game since week 4 Minnesota. He doesn't run the ball quite as much as a guy like Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, those kind of guys, but it's just nice to have a little bit of a built-in floor there. He can always get you a rushing touchdown as well. He also throws the ball a ton, close to 35 times per game. He throws the ball down the field, close to 9 yards per attempt. And he's actually tied with Patrick Mahomes for the most games above 300 yards passing this season. So I love Deshaun Watson here. I think it's probably a good idea to pair him with one of his pass catching options, which, spoiler alert, you might see that in the next slide here, but just a great option here. The Tennessee Titans have been awful defensively this season. They've been pretty bad versus the run and versus the pass, but this season, 30th DVA versus the pass, and allowing the 5th most points for the quarterback position, about 280 passing yards per game, and over 2 touchdowns as well. So, love Watson. I think he absolutely smashes. I know he's pretty expensive, but if you have the money to spend it for a quarterback, don't think you absolutely have to, but if you have the money for it, Deshaun Watson is my QB1 on the weekend. All right, moving on to our 4th core play, and surprise, surprise, it's a pass catcher for Deshaun Watson, but it's his wide receiver 1, and it's Brandin Cooks at $6,900. The price has certainly come up a bit, but I still think he's a very good option and what should be a very good game environment, and I think a lot of fantasy points are going to be scored in this one, whether it's on the Titans or the Houston Texans. But yeah, I like Brandin Cooks quite a bit. He finally had that big blow-up week that we thought was going to be coming for quite some time because, with Will Fuller being out, we thought Brandin Cooks was just going to take it to another level. Really wasn't the case because he had a bunch of middling performances like 12, 13, 11 points. Nothing too spectacular, but last week got over 30 points versus Cincinnati Bengals, had 141 receiving yards, 7 catches, 10 targets, got into the end zone as well. And I'm not saying he's going to exactly replicate that, but I would not be surprised if he gets his 20-plus points here. And if you actually go all the way back to week 6 versus Tennessee, this is when Will Fuller was still alive. But he had 21.8 points in that game, had 9 catches, 9 targets, caught 100% of the balls thrown his way. Only had 68 yards, but got into the end zone, and it was actually in the picture behind me. I put that up there for good luck because I'm hoping he scores another touchdown versus the Tennessee Titans. I would love to as well, but I would take one. But I still think he's in a really good spot here. Versus the Titans, they have not been that good versus wide receivers this season, and I think we saw that last week on Sunday night when Devontae Adams absolutely destroyed them for 3 touchdowns, close to 50 points. But on the season, they're allowing the 4th most points per game to the wide receiver position, close to 45 points, the 30th DVA versus the pass, and allowing close to 200 receiving yards per game. So Cooks, he's in a great spot here. If you can't exactly get all the way up to Cooks, close to $7,000, I don't mind substituting him for a guy like Kiki Cutie, or if you just can't even afford Kiki Cutie, you have to go really cheap. Jordan Akins is only $3,300, and he should see a handful of targets, but all these guys are in a fantastic spot here versus the Tennessee Titans defense. All right, moving on to our 5th and final core play. I'm sure you guys were not expecting this name to pop up early on the week, but it's Ty Montgomery here at $4,000, and this is just because of circumstances, because all the Saints running backs are out. Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, and the other guys, they are going to be out for this game. So Ty Montgomery is the only guy left. Yeah, they're going to activate a guy from the practice squad, so he's not going to be the only running back here, but I assume he's going to lead this backfield in touches. And we know the guy is a capable pass catching running back, which when you take Alvin Kamara out of the situation, there's definitely a lot of targets to go around in this offense. Plus, we know Michael Thomas is going to be out. It's a pretty good matchup as a running back versus the Carolina Panthers. So I'm not expecting an absolute monster game from Ty Montgomery, but if he can get us a handful or so of targets, he shouldn't have a problem paying off his $4,000 price tag. We should also, I assume, get close to double-digit carries on the ground. I mean, the workload is definitely a question here, but the price is nice, and he's still going to be the RB1 on an offense that's playing for a 1, 2, or 3 seed here. I mean, they are playing to win, so there's definitely incentive to want to try hard in this game. Also, Taysom Hill should be involved in the backfield somehow as well. I'm sure we're all going to play Ty Montgomery, and Taysom Hill is going to steal like 2 or 3 goal line touchdowns, so just be mentally prepared for that. But I still think Montgomery is a pretty good play at this price point. And again, you're taking Alvin Kamara. He's got a 23% target share in the season, a 36% weight opportunity share, close to 7 targets per game. That's a lot to take out. And plus, with Michael Michael Thomas being out, the ball's got to go somewhere, and I'm pretty sure Ty Montgomery should be involved in the passing game. We know, I mean, he's a decent pass catching back, and he had some decent games on Green Bay. Nothing spectacular, but he did have a couple of good games. But the Carolina Panthers, they are 26th versus running backs, are 21st versus the run, allowing close to 27 DraftKings points per game to the position. But the one big thing here is that they're actually allowing over 6 catches per game to the position, which is near the tops in the league. So I think Ty Montgomery can get the job done here as long as he is involved in the passing game, which I'm assuming that's going to be the case. So $4,000, you really can't beat it. Also want to mention that Malcolm Brown would be a candidate to make this core plays video, although K-Makers is now a game time decision, so I have no idea if he's going to play or not, because if K-Makers plays, it just muddies the waters a bit. But if K-Makers happens to get rolled out, just know I really, really like Malcolm Brown. I would not hate going spend up with Derrick Henry, then going 2 cheap running backs and Ty Montgomery and Malcolm Brown. Then you can kind of play whoever the heck you want. If you want to spend up a quarterback, or if you want to spend up with a guy like Devontae Adams, it should not be that hard to do so. Just keep in mind to look for the K-Makers news, because that would be a big difference in my lineups this weekend. That's going to be it for this video, guys, so I hope it was helpful, and if it was, make sure you leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out. I really do appreciate it. Hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss out whenever I post new videos. If you want to follow me over on social media, I'm at ChrisPennell16 on Twitter, CPenn16 over on IG, and if you want to help support the channel over on Patreon, link is down below for that. If you want access to the sheets, the notes, the cheat sheets, the projections, and you can hop into the Discord chat as well. I cover other sports as well. But I think that's going to be it, guys. I'll stop rambling, and I'll see you guys in the next video, and I wish you guys the best of luck and a happy new year.